each character, if you could introduce yourself as an actor. He loves this look.
Oh, it's so awesome.
A Dickens of a Christmas by Dwayne Yancey. Copyright 2020, all rights reserved. A Dickens of a Christmas. Two orphan girls in Victorian London desperately want a proper Christmas dinner. At first, they conspire to sneak into a private club and pass themselves off as men. Their plans are frustrated by a retired military man and two fellow orphans. That's when they devise another plan that involved the mean old rich woman at the end of the street. Cast 6, 3 male, 3 female. Rose, a precocious orphan. Female. Rose?
That's me. Hi. My name is Kira Simmons, and I'm from Chantilly, Virginia.
Lily, her more practical sister.
Hi, I'm Irene Keeney. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee.
Colonel Brampton, a retired military man. Grumpy.
Well, I'm Charlie. I'm in Roanoke, Virginia.
Lady Crumblebum, a rich old woman, also grumpy.
Hi, I'm Martha Boswell. I'm also in Roanoke.
Toby, an orphan, the leader of the two boys, but not necessarily the smartest.
Hello, I'm Stephen Baltz, and I'm in Christiansburg, Virginia.
Percy. Another orphan who has flights of fancy.
Hi. I'm Mason. I'm from Hamilton, Ontario. Whew.
Oh. The time and place, Victorian era London. Two orphan teenage sisters are about to get kicked out of their place of employment. They enter the stage, stumbling as if shoved. From off stage, we hear a voice. Voice off stage. Get out and stay out!
Hell of all the nerve.
That didn't work out exactly as planned.
Not a very enlightened employer, I'd say.
Well, technically we were stealing, I suppose.
We were sampling the meat pies. Think of it as quality control.
I'm pretty sure he thought of it as stealing.
It's only stealing if you take it with you. Which I guess we kind of were.
She pulls the meat pie from her cleavage.
Well, that's an interesting hiding spot.
A lady never reveals her secrets, Lily.
Or her stolen goods, apparently.
I wouldn't say steal. I think of it more as a severance package.
We weren't even working there an hour. I don't think we get a severance package. I don't even know what a severance package is. That's not when they cut your head off, is it? Because I don't want to have my head cut off.
It's like a going away present.
We're orphans in Victorian London. No one gives us any presents.
In this case, we simply gave ourselves one. Or two.
Another
Rose
one.
pulls another meat pie from somewhere.
Another one?
Fine. Here's one for you.
Rose produces another meat pie from Lily.
It's Christmas anyway. Sorry I don't have a bow to put on it. I could go hide it under a bush in the park if that'd make it feel more Christmassy.
That's all right. I'm good.
Lily produces a meat pie from her pocket.
What kind do you think these are anyway?
These? Probably cat.
What?
Well, the whiskers kind of gave it away.
Ew, that's disgusting.
See, that's why he needed someone to do quality control.
On the other hand, This may be all we get to eat for a while.
Lily bites into the meat pie.
I must admit, this does set back our search for gainful employment.
It's kind of chewy.
It won't look very good on our resumes.
Definitely kind of chewy.
Previous employment, Mr. Tabby's Pie Shop.
In fact, I'm not sure chewy's the best word, actually.
Dates of employment, 8 a.m. to 8:45 a.m.
More like very resilient.
Reason for leaving? Management's failure to establish clear expectations.
Quite durable, really.
I mean, how were we supposed to know we weren't allowed to take what we wanted?
To be honest, it's rather tough.
I really don't understand this whole capitalist system.
But surprisingly enough, it does not taste like chicken.
I mean, they call it the free market. We were working in a market. Shouldn't that mean things were free?
Which is something of a relief, because if everything tastes like chicken, how do you know it's not really chicken that tastes like everything else? And maybe that whole taste like chicken thing is really just some marketing ploy so that we don't realize that we're actually eating something that tastes like some really disgusting creature.
You know what I think, Lily?
That our lowly social status and deep pangs of hunger have driven us to eat some mystery meat deemed inevitable by decent society?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this whole working for a living thing just isn't gonna work out. I mean, we gave it a good shot and all.
We worked at one shop for 45 minutes before we got fired for stealing.
My point exactly. At that rate, we're gonna have to get fired 6 days a week just to be able to find something to eat. And then what are we gonna do about Sundays?
Maybe next time we should just put in an honest day's work.
For what? The few shillings that would come our way for spending all day slaving over a hot stove in a meat pie shop?
I'm pretty sure that's how it's supposed to work.
You know, come to think of it, I never saw any hot stove there.
The rich have their money because they're rich.
Just lots of dishes of cat food.
The rest of us have to do their bidding, and if we do as we're told, they give us a pittance of their riches.
But oddly, never any cats.
You know, you're right. That's not a very good system.
You know, maybe the fact the place was called Mr. Tabby's should have been a giveaway.
Well, I suppose it's a good system for the rich people, so at least somebody comes out ahead, I guess.
You know what I need, Lily?
A toothpick?
A benefactor.
Well, right now, I could use a toothpick. It's kind of chunky.
If we had a benefactor, we wouldn't have to sleep out on the streets trying to live by our wits.
I never did understand how that was supposed to work, because I'm not really good at telling jokes.
We could live in a fine house, sitting by a warm fire, sipping tea and eating crumpets. And you know what the best part would be?
I guess it depends. What flavor of crumpet? I only know the moldy kind.
We wouldn't even have to pocket the silverware because it would already belong to us.
Well, that's good, because silverware is heavy. It makes it hard to run away when your pockets are full. Like that time we tried to nick from that pub on Good Street, when that tavern keeper was chasing us down in the street and we were trying to lighten our load. I felt like we were sailors at sea. Knife and fork overboard! Knife and fork overboard! Ooh, more like pirates, really, I suppose.
All the really fashionable orphans these days have benefactors. At least that's what I read in that Dickens story in the newspaper.
Is that what we are, Rose? Pirates? Because that sounds a lot better than being thieves. They sent thieves to jail. Or worse, Australia.
I wonder how someone goes about finding a benefactor.
But being a pirate is glamorous. I wouldn't mind being glamorous.
You'd think here at Christmas time, benefactors would be falling all over themselves trying to find some orphans to take in. Part of that whole Christmas spirit thing.
One time in Trafalgar Square, a pigeon landed on my shoulder. That made me feel like a pirate.
We should have benefactors lined up offering their services. Next, take a number and wait.
It didn't make me feel very glamorous, though. So I'm really confused.
Oh well, I guess we'll just have to go out and find our own then.
Our own what? Our own pirates?
No, our own benefactor.
Oh, because I'm pretty sure pirates aren't benefactors. I think they work the other way around.
I suppose we could hang out on a street corner and pass out leaflets. Wanted, benefactor, inquire within.
I don't think too many potential benefactors are just walking around the streets. They're probably riding some carriages with servants and such to keep people like us away from them. And that's because we're not glamorous.
We could put an advertisement in the Times. Wanted, benefactor, no experience required. Probably best we not set our sights too high. I think an entry-level benefactor would do, don't you?
An advertisement in the Times is going to cost money.
Well, that's true. We'd probably have to get fired from a lot more places to afford that. And they probably don't take payments in meat pies either.
If we were glamorous, the Times would pay us to tell all our secrets. If only we had some secrets.
We could try going door to door. That's how brush salesmen do it.
We would make some up. They probably wouldn't believe them, though. I think you have to be a politician to get away with that.
Hello, my name is Rose, and this is my sister, Lily. Could we interest you in being a benefactor? For less than £1 a day, you could raise 2 deserving orphans out of crushing poverty and lift them into the lap of luxury.
I'm pretty sure that's not how it's done.
You're right. We shouldn't go together. You hit one side of the street, and I'll hit the other. That way, we'll cover more territory.
I mean, I don't think benefactors actually open their own doors. They probably have servants to do that kind of thing for them.
True. Do you have a better idea for how to find one?
Not really.
All right, then. Door to door it is. Come on.
Hey!
Lights down. Scene 2. We hear a voice from off stage. Get out! Stay out! Rose and Lily enter, stumbling as if being shoved. They brush themselves off.
I think we can definitely say that people on this street are not in the holiday spirit.
The man at that one house was definitely into some kind of spirits. Bleh.
Lily waves her hand to indicate the man had liquor on his breath.
We may need to refine our approach somewhat.
Refine isn't exactly a word that describes us very well.
Well, maybe that's our problem. Maybe we don't look deserving enough. Maybe we need to make ourselves look even more desperate.
That wasn't what I was thinking.
Get some coal. Rough up your cheeks some, maybe tangle up your hair some more.
As Rose speaks, she does all these things to Lily.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm just trying to make you look more presentable. Or less.
But why?
Marketing, Lily, marketing. It's all about the marketing. Clearly, we look too posh to qualify for any handouts on this street.
I think maybe the problem is they're not interested in giving any handouts.
Well, that's not very sporting of them. How do they expect to get ahead that way?
I'm pretty sure they're already ahead.
Perhaps we need a more business-like approach.
As long as it doesn't involve me getting covered in coal dust.
Instead of asking for a handout, we ask them for hand up.
Sounds good. What's the difference?
Semantic, mostly.
I don't know what that means.
It means we ask them for an investment.
An investment in what?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe our expedition to the Arctic. Or the Antarctic. One of those places.
We have an expedition to the Arctic?
Of course not. We just make them think we have an expedition to the Arctic. They get the prestige of underwriting the whole venture. We'll even put their name on it in all of the publicity materials. Think of all the glory they'll get as sponsors. Sadly, the expedition will be lost. Such a tragedy. But there's a certain notoriety in being associated with a tragedy if you play it right.
Wait, what? We get lost?
Never heard from again. Most likely frozen to death. Or eaten by polar bears.
I'm not sure I like either of those.
The mystery will just heighten our posthumous fame. That means after they think we're dead.
That whole frozen to death or eaten by polar bears thing.
They give us a nice memorial service. We get our names on some plaque somewhere. Maybe even a cenotaph in Hyde Park.
Sounds nice, but I'm not really seeing what we get out of this. Or them either, for that matter.
Oh, they lose their whole investment.
They won't like that. We're not going to send the economy into a tailspin, are we? Because I'd sure hate to be responsible for a recession. We definitely won't get any handouts then.
Meanwhile, we abscond with all the money to North America and set ourselves up as queens.
So we steal it then.
Pretty sure that's what abscond means. It's just a little classier.
Oh, so you want us to engage in stock fraud then?
Only a little bit. Plus some embezzlement and soliciting money under false pretenses. We will have moved up in the world, Lily. Instead of begging for scraps on the street, we'll be committing a whole statute book of financial crimes. That's a whole new social strata. All those people who say Britain's class system holds down the poor, we'll prove them wrong. Fraud is the key to success.
There's just one problem, Rose.
What's that?
I don't think they have queens in North America.
Well, whatever. It's just an expression. We'll be the mysterious rich woman living in the big house in Boston.
Oh, mysterious. I'm not sure I feel very mysterious. Mostly I just feel hungry.
The talk of society.
I don't think I'd like it if people talked about us.
Gentlemen callers will line up to seek our affection. They'll bring us roses, chocolates, only the finest of wines.
Gentlemen callers, you say?
Instead of us having to ask for handouts, people bring them to us.
Oh, that does sound like a better business model.
Naturally, we turn them all away.
We do?
That's how we make sure they keep coming back. We play hard to get.
Ah, like that time we outran the police when we were nicking men's wallets in Convent Gardens. We played hard to get then.
Not quite the same thing. Oh, look, here comes a random rich person now. Look needy.
How do I look needy? I thought we were already pretty needy.
Remember, it's Christmas. Everybody's hearts are a little softer at Christmas.
That's probably just from all the cooking grease. Softens the heart, but hardens the arteries.
Colonel Brampton enters, walking with a cane or an umbrella. He's an older man who scowls. Every fiber of his being conveys absolute displeasure. Rose approaches him.
Hello, good sir, and a happy Christmas to you.
All right, out of my way.
Rose and Lily get in front of the colonel and try to block his path.
Might I possibly interest you in...
I said out of my way, you worthless urchin.
Oh, I realize we may appear to be worthless urchins to you, but in reality...
In reality, we're famed Arctic explorers who are raising money for our next expedition, where we want to go to the North Pole and discover Santa Claus and bring him back and put him in the Regent's Park Zoo.
Rose stares at Lily.
What? Are we not doing that one now?
Yeah, sure. So, as a patriot and an astute businessman, might I interest you in helping to underwrite our expedition? We wouldn't want the French to get there first now, would we? You know how wily those French are.
Just a small donation would do.
Basically, whatever you have in your pockets.
What is the meaning of this? Are you trying to rob me in broad daylight?
Rob? Oh, no, sir. We would never want to rob anyone. We are most certainly against robbing. although I must admit that Robin Hood is an iconic English hero.
Think by definition, Rob involves a threat of force. We mostly do our thieving through acts of deception.
And technically, it's rather overcast, so it's not really broad daylight anyway, now is it?
Waving his cane or umbrella.
I ought to brain you two. Do you have any idea who it is you're speaking to?
Prince Albert? I see a bit of resemblance, don't you?
Some random rich person, that's all she said.
I'll have you know, I am none other than Colonel Clarence Brampton, Her Majesty's Light Infantry, 2nd Brigade, retired.
I thought so. Then surely a man of your stature can appreciate the importance of our expedition.
If the French get there first, who knows what might happen? They'll be eating frogs and snails at the North Pole while we're still, I really don't think there's much strategic significance to the North Pole.
I did not serve all across this mighty empire just so that I could be accosted on the streets at home by a band of common ruffians.
Oh, I assure you, we're not common at all. Quite uncommon, actually.
We're pickpockets, we're swindlers, we're scammers, we're con artists. And now we're trying to move up in the world to financial schemes.
What my sister means is that she hasn't learned to shut her mouth when discussing matters of grave national import.
But mostly we're just orphans.
Why, you little scoundrels. If I had my sidearm with me, I'd clear out the lot of you like a nest of rabid badgers. That's how we did it in the colonies.
But please, sir, it's Christmas and we've got no place to stay.
Were there a lot of rabid badgers in the colonies? Because if infestations like that are pretty common, that doesn't sound like very conducive to colonialism.
Can't you just spare a little bit for my sister and me here?
The only thing I'm going to spare on you is the rod. But if you persist in impeding my progress, I'll have to resort to other contingencies. Now, out of my way. You hooligans are going to make me late for the club.
But, sir, we've been all up and down this block. No one will help us.
Except for the big house on the corner. We haven't been there yet.
The Colonel's mood changes. He is now thoroughly shaken.
What? You mean Lady Crumblebum's residence?
Oh, we have no idea who lives there.
Yeah, just another house to us.
Good Lord. The very thought of that woman sends shivers down my spine. I'd rather face a choice between getting trapped in quicksand, falling into a nest of vipers, or being cornered by hungry tigers raised on man flesh than endure even a look from that horrid creature. Here, take this shilling.
The Colonel produces a coin from his pocket and hands it to Rose.
In fact, take 2.
Colonel hands another coin to Lily.
If you value your life, get as far away from that witch as you can. There's not a wind in all of Siberia that's colder than that failed attempt at humanity. The club. I must get to the club. Safety. Refuge.
Colonel quickly exits, as terrified as any man can be.
I wonder what that was all about.
Apparently, either a traumatic experience with a nest of vipers or Lady Crumblebum.
I think we learned at least one thing out of that, though.
To avoid hungry tigers raised on man flesh, or to avoid Lady Crumblebum.
The club.
Well, I don't think a club would be very effective, except at a short range, and I'd rather not be at a short range with a hungry tiger raised on man flesh.
No, not that kind of club. His kind of club. A private club.
What about it?
We need to join it.
I don't think they let our kind into clubs.
Of course not. They have money there.
Exactly.
Which is precisely why we need to join it.
It doesn't sound like Colonel Brampton will be sponsoring us for membership anytime soon.
Think of it, Lily. Once we get in, we spend all day sitting by a warm fire, drinking fine Scotch whiskey and eating roasted duck with an orange glaze.
I'll admit, it does sound better than being eaten by hungry tigers raised on man flesh. Or those polar bears at the North Pole.
It's practically Christmas every day at the club.
How do you know they have roasted duck with an orange glaze, though?
It's a club. They're bound to have roasted duck. Roasted duck, roasted goose, every roasted thing you can imagine.
I'm not sure I'd want to roast everything I can imagine.
Have you ever dined on roasted duck, Lily? I have. Every night in my overactive imagination.
We once roasted that pigeon we found, drowned in a fountain. Does that count?
Come on, let's go get cleaned up. We need to present ourselves for membership.
I like the sound of getting cleaned up. But wait, how do we present ourselves for membership at some club?
We use fancy words and curtsy a lot. I'm pretty sure that's all there is to it. Come on, who knows, they might even underwrite our Arctic exposition.
Rose and Lily exit. Scene 3. Outside a private club. Get out and stay out!
Well, that wasn't very nice.
So does this mean they won't accept us as members?
Who knew private clubs were only for men? That doesn't seem fair.
They act as if we're some kind of dangerous species. Are we a dangerous species, Rose?
I mean, we have a queen now. I thought we were living in an enlightened age.
I wonder what Darwin would have to say about all this.
I mean, both boys and girls have an equal opportunity to be left poor on the streets and sent to work as child laborers in the mills and mines. You'd think we'd have the same opportunity at the top of the heap as at the bottom.
Perhaps we should go back to shaking down strangers on the street. At least we each got a shilling from that Colonel Brampton.
I have a better idea.
Why do I always get this feeling of intense dread when you have a better idea?
Oh, come on. It wasn't that bad that time when I made you dress up as a kangaroo.
You tried to sell me to that circus!
So you could take off the costume and run away, and we could sell you again to the next circus. It seemed a foolproof plan.
You were right about that. It proved we were fools.
How was I to know they knew what a kangaroo actually looked like? Otherwise, it totally would have worked.
The costume was a couple of bed sheets dyed orange and sewn together with pillowcase for a pouch.
I tried to teach you some boxing tricks. Maybe if you just punched that circus promoter, you'd have been more convincing.
I think making a run for it was still the most effective way out of that situation.
It did set off that elephant stampede, so that was a useful distraction.
I think the circus I'm best suited for is Piccadilly. Maybe we should just go back to panhandling there.
Nonsense, Lily. It's time to think big.
The last time we thought big, we tried to sell the British Museum a box of chicken bones wrapped in those same orange bed sheets and claimed it was the mummy of some Egyptian pharaoh.
I agree. I should have taken off the tag that said made in the dark satanic mills. But we won't make that mistake again. We've learned our lesson there.
What mistake will we make this time?
We're going to go back and join that club.
The one they just kicked us out of? That doesn't sound much like learning a lesson to me.
You saw the place, Lily. Well, at least the lobby before they, heaved us out into the street because we weren't gentlemen.
Mostly I just saw the coat rack and the umbrella stand.
So where would you rather spend Christmas? Out here on the cold, wet streets of London, or inside in the comfort of the Oxford Street Gentlemen's Club?
In hindsight, should have paid more attention to the name. Pretty sure we'll never qualify for membership there.
On the contrary, we now know exactly what we need to do to qualify for membership.
What's that?
You know?
No, I don't.
Oh, yes, you do.
I'm not wearing a kangaroo costume again.
No kangaroo costumes this time.
Good. So what then?
We both wear costumes.
Wait. If I'm not wearing the kangaroo costume, does this mean I have to be a wombat? Because I don't even know what a wombat is.
I mean, we dress up to qualify for membership.
In an all-male club? I don't see how, since we're not... Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no, no, no.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Maybe we could reconsider the kangaroo costume.
Oh, come on, Lily. We've got some shopping to do. Or at least some stealing off people's clotheslines.
Please tell me I don't have to wear a mustache.
Rose and Lily exit. Scene 4. We hear a voice from off stage. Get out and stay out! We are now inside the club. Toby and Percy enter. They are young, well-dressed men in their late teens or early 20s. Dandies, in fact. They are also orphans, passing themselves off as gentlemen. 2 large potted plants are on the stage. They will come into play several scenes later.
I do say, Percy, the rabble are getting rather rabblish tonight, aren't they?
Quite fearfully so, I must say.
The lower orders somehow seem to think they are entitled to special privileges at Christmas. Have you noticed that?
The temerity of them to be out on the street corners begging for money.
From their betters.
Hard to beg from their lowers.
Although I suspect the worst and most desperate of their kind have tried.
It's the peculiar curse of their blighted class. They are so low in the social hierarchy that they seem to think their situation in life can somehow be redeemed through supplication of aims.
Oh, I wonder whatever gave them the idea that social class is anything but an immutable law of nature ordained by the heavens.
Most likely those dreadful newspapers, wouldn't you say? Always stirring up trouble, giving people the wrong ideas.
Sensationalizing things, blowing them out of proportion.
Glamorizing criminals.
Which we all know will only encourage them.
Embolden them.
Practically incite them to riot.
Or, at least, practice the low arts of deception.
Very low.
And quite deceptive, too.
Practically swindlers they are out there.
Conning people with fantastical tales designed to elect some sympathetic response.
Tugging at people's heartstrings to get to their wallets.
A time-tested practice, although not a particularly effective one.
Fortunately, we live in a more enlightened age.
Scientific progress all around us.
More modern methods.
The wonders of the industrial age.
Allowing us to rise above the primitive ways of the past.
And the teeming masses out on the street.
Definitely want to rise above the teeming masses out on the street.
The unwashed masses.
All the dirt on their faces.
All the lice in their hair.
Such a vile, repulsive lot.
Their very poverty is but a testimony to their moral deficiency.
I'm certainly glad we are above all that.
Indeed, a much better view from up here.
And much less competition.
The rarefied air of London Gentlemen's Club.
I think that might be the smell of the roast wafting in from the kitchen.
Toby and Percy momentarily drop their pretense, laugh, and revert to their true selves.
Oh, now this is the life. Can you believe we convinced that doorman we were members?
Our counterfeiting skills are apparently quite superb.
No, it's all in how you carry yourself. Pip pip tally-ho, all that rubbish.
So far, it's carried us up a flight of stairs into the main ballroom, so I'd say it's carried us very well.
If every day smells this good, can you imagine what Christmas dinner must be like?
I dare say we shall soon savour the most beautiful feast ever seen in all of Christmasdom.
Only the fattest goose will do, Percy. Only the fattest goose. Although, I might deign to lower myself to try the duck if circumstances demand. Do you think it will have an orange glaze? Oh, I do so hope it has an orange glaze. I've dreamed of an orange glaze ever since I was old enough to remember. I have no idea what an orange glaze is, but I do hope there is one.
Just remember your table manners, Toby. We're in high society now.
Oh, I remember my table manners. Never let go of the fork. That way, if they start to catch on, I can stab the goose and take it with me.
Your practicality is admirable, but our greater reuse depends upon confidence and sophistication.
Oh, I am completely confident that I will stab that goose.
Well, just keep in mind the goose hasn't been served yet.
Percy stops. He sees something.
But what?
Someone's coming.
Oh, I hope it's the sommelier. I'm rather parched. Aren't you rather parched?
Look sharp, it's game on.
Righto. Tip-top, hip-hip in Jolly Roger, or something like that.
Colonel Brampton enters. He stops when he sees Toby and Percy.
I don't know you.
Ah, pleased to meet you, sir. I'm Toby.
And I'm Percy.
I don't know you either.
Well, now you do. It's an honor, sir. And you are?
Are you two members here?
Full rank and privileges.
I don't remember being asked to vote on any new members.
Oh, perhaps it happened a day you weren't here.
I've been here every day since I retired from Her Majesty's service.
Oh, why then, it's an honor to meet a fellow veteran of the wars, Her Majesty's Light Infantry myself.
Is that so? It's just so happened I served in Her Majesty's Light Infantry.
Oh, why, what a coincidence. Then you and I are truly brothers in arms. I was a lieutenant, and my compatriot here was a right-tenant.
All right, tenants?
Such a kidder. Always such a kidder.
Percy whispers to Toby.
There's no such thing as a right tenant.
So what rank did you attain?
I was lieutenant as well.
Just on the right flank.
You two don't look old enough to be lieutenants to me.
We were overachievers, sir.
You barely look old enough to be a lance corporal.
Metric rise through the ranks, sir.
Or as we used to say in the officer's tent, cannon fodder.
Battlefield promotions, in fact.
A likely story. The world is full of hucksters and charlatans who claim to have done things that brave men who have actually done them know better than to speak of. No better than thieves they are. Thieves who would steal the glory from men who have shed their blood for queen and country.
Oh, I can assure you, we've never stolen any glory at all. Have we, Percy?
Glory is definitely not something we've ever stolen.
Probably wouldn't fit in our pockets anyway.
So what action did you two see? Name the place and the order of battle. I'm familiar with every campaign ever fought on behalf of this great empire. I've studied every clash of arms from Hastings to the present hour.
Every clash of arms, you say?
Every battle worth a name.
Oh, well, this was more of a skirmish, actually.
But enough merit to a promotion.
Name the action. I'll have you two court-martialed as impostors.
The name?
The name of the supposed battle you claim to have been in. And mind you, I know every officer of the line. If you're lying to me, I will find you out, you little strapling.
I don't think it was ever actually assigned a name.
That's highly irregular.
Well, we were quite irregular. Or perhaps we were fighting irregulars. One or the other. Maybe even both.
I believe it was actually some problem with the paperwork in Whitehall. You know how the barricades are.
That I do. Civilians, meddlesome lot.
In fact, it was a secret mission.
Secret, you say?
Oh, yes, quite confidential.
Strictly need-to-know basis.
For the Prime Minister's eyes only.
Which might explain the whole problem with the paperwork in Whitehall. Just a hunch.
Quite possibly. Or perhaps it's all just a part of an elaborate fabrication to pass yourselves off as military veterans and trade on the reputation of men who have paid the supreme sacrifice.
Oh, we'd never do that, would we, Percy?
A thoroughly despicable thing to do.
Dishonorable, in fact.
Depraved, demeaning.
Demoralizing, all those other D words.
Demand. There's a D word for you.
I beg your pardon?
I demand proof of your claim. I will not have the name of this great club sullied by fakes and frauds and phonies.
Right. So...
It's rather hard to prove something that officially never happened. If you understand my meaning.
And I think technically phony starts with a PH, so unless you were going simply for the audio alliteration rather than the actual spelling, you might want to just stick with fakes and frauds.
Don't make me take this up the chain of command.
Right, the chain of command.
Perhaps, if you will allow us to withdraw just a moment to consult with our superiors on the advisability of releasing the information you request.
Your superiors? I'll have you know that I'm your superior.
Right.
A pause, and then Toby jumps into action and starts reenacting a made-up scene.
So, there we were in the Punjab, the hot, steamy, inhospitable Punjab, a land of infinite mysteries and unspeakable horrors, a place of strange customs and even stranger ways, a place beyond the ken of any Englishman, a place so alien to our experience that even a trek through the remotest highlands of Scotland with all of its feuding clans seems like a merry picnic in Regent's Park by comparison. The inexplicable, inscrutable, indecipherable Punjab.
The Colonel starts to be overcome by nostalgia.
Oh, yes. I remember the Punjab. It was all of those things.
We're on a routine resupply mission, but nothing is ever routine in the Punjab, as I'm sure you well know.
Quite right about that.
So, we're moving along through the jungle, the men in the van wielding machetes to chop down the vines. Chop, chop, chop!
Oh, I remember the vines.
Behind them, the elephant train, their trunks wrapped around great logs, swinging left and right to clear a path for the wagons.
Ah, yes. Elephants. A marvelous invention. Quite underappreciated as a weapon of war.
Out of the dark depths of the forest, we hear a noise. We stop, always on alert.
Vigilance. That's the watchword. Must always be vigilant in the Punjab.
It's just a troop of monkeys, caterwauling through the trees.
I remember the monkeys. Never liked the monkeys.
So we go on. The van chopping down the vines. Chop, chop, chop. The elephants swinging their trunks. Swing, swing, swing. Then suddenly it happens. No warning whatsoever. An ambush.
An ambush! I knew it!
It's a tribe of cannibals, poison spears flying through the air, a witch doctor chanting these strange chants and shaking his shaker thing, this long staff with a skull on the top.
I believe it's called a talisman. Wait, did you say cannibals in the Punjab? I never heard of any cannibals in the Punjab.
That's why the mission has been classified.
All part of the cover-up.
Ah, right. Makes perfectly good sense. Can't be letting information like that out to the general public. Start rumors, set off panics, undermines public support, undermines morale.
Exactly.
Percy nods to Toby to join in.
Perhaps I've already said too much.
But as a fellow military man, I'm sure you'll appreciate the difficulty we're in.
Absolutely. Confidentiality must be observed at all levels.
We knew you'd understand.
But please, back to your story. Just between us military men.
My story, right. Where was I?
The part about the cannibals.
With the poison spears.
Right. And the shrunken heads of their enemies around their necks.
Apparently, those parts weren't good to eat.
No wonder this was never reported. Men would mutiny if they knew about this.
So, there we are, completely surrounded. Poison spears raining down from up in the trees. Our commanding officer goes down.
Oh, such a shame.
Then all our other officers go down.
For Queen and country. I hope they get a proper memorial.
Even our drummer boy goes down.
Oh, such a good lad. Wait, I don't recall any mention of a drummer boy.
Oh, yes, we had a drummer boy and a piper in the rear.
Shouldn't the piper be in the front?
We found putting the piper in the rear to have a rather commendable effect on preventing stragglers.
Ah, perfectly understandable. Never much cared for the pipes myself. The devil's wind chimes, we used to call them. Completely unnatural sound. Ought to be outlawed in any civilized country. But somehow the Scotsmen are quite attached. But then again, it's debatable whether Scotland is a civilized country. Go on. Tell me the rest. I'm on tenterhooks.
Right, the rest. So, I look around and realize I'm the most senior officer left standing.
On the left flank. I was on the right flank.
Quite right. 2 flanks, and we're completely outflanked by the cannibals.
A common enough mistake. Often fatal, I'm afraid.
And then a cry goes up from the supply sergeant.
Oh, no, was he hit too?
Oh, no. Well, maybe. I don't really know, but we're down to our last bullet. So things are looking mighty grim indeed.
Oh, a fearful predicament. Doomed, in fact, I'd say. Except here you are to tell the tale.
And the cannibals, they're screaming and shouting the way cannibals do.
Can't say as I've met a cannibal. Would rather not, I must say. But I can't imagine they're quite disorderly.
But then they start arguing amongst themselves.
Over tactics?
Over how they intend to eat us for dinner.
Oh, already preparing for their after-action reports, so to speak.
One faction wants to cook us over an open fire. The other faction wants to eat us raw.
Oh, hideous beings. What an opportunity. The enemy distracted, divided.
Precisely.
So what did you do?
Oh, what else could we do? I told my men to lock bayonets and prepare to charge on my command.
Entirely right. Never retreat, never surrender. The best defense is a good offense.
And that's when Percy and I here mounted the elephants and led a cavalry charge right through their ranks.
Shades of Hannibal himself. A cavalry charge by elephant. I've never heard of such a thing.
And you won't, since the official reports redacted all of this to cover up the part about the cannibals in the Punjab.
A necessary precaution to maintain public order. Such a sacrifice for all those men who must now go unrecognized for their bravery under fire.
Oh, and did I mention how we circled around and then came charging back and had the elephants stomp out the cannibals? We were back on our stomping ground, you might say.
Oh, yes. We really put our foot down.
All 4 feet.
More like 8 feet, really. 4 for each elephant.
And the ones the elephants couldn't stomp, they speared with their tusks.
Just like a shish kebab. Or a shish kebab. I'm not ever quite certain of the syntax.
Yeah, and the ones they couldn't spear, they picked up with their trunks and flung away the way you or I would fling away the nub end of a cigar.
And that was the end of the cannibal tribe of the Punjab.
The great pachyderm putsch of the Punjab. That's what we called it.
Except, of course, in the press accounts, which were completely silent.
I hear the generals bought off the newspapermen with Jamaican rum, but I can't personally confirm that.
And all this really happened?
Long pause.
On my honor as a gentleman.
Every bit of his honor, and mine.
Well then, I suppose it is. Congratulations, my boy, congratulations.
Colonel congratulates Toby, then turns to Percy.
And congratulations to you too, my boy. Congratulations. Well done all around. I know you can't talk about it, but between you and me, you may have just saved the empire right there. The Punjab is the key to everything. Lose the Punjab and we lose all of India. Lose India, we lose all of Asia. We may as well lose the crown jewels themselves. Colonel Arthur Brampton, retired, at your service. What say we go have a drink? It's on me. May I?
Colonel puts his arms around Toby and Percy.
Well, I suppose, if you insist.
It would be an honor, sir.
Consider it a Christmas present. And while we're at it, I want you to explain to me why you two lads of your obvious martial character, aren't still serving. The Empire needs more young men like you. Daring, dashing. There are some more D words for you. Can you forgive me for doubting you? Old military reflex kicking in. When presented with intelligence from the field, question everything. But I don't question you lads anymore. I can tell you are the real deal. I can feel it in my old infantry bones.
Colonel exits with Toby and Percy. Scene 5. Inside the club. Rose and Lily enter furtively. They are dressed like men. Both are wearing fake mustaches. Very bad fake mustaches. Lily, at least, has fake sideburns.
This isn't going to work.
What do you mean it's worked so far?
We snuck in through the kitchen. I don't think I'd call that working.
Perhaps, but did you see all the food they had laid out? They have more food down there than you and I have ever eaten in a whole lifetime.
Was that one thing a pheasant? Or just a very large goose? Because I'm not sure I know the difference once they're roasted.
No, I don't know. They took all the feathers off. I guess that's how the rich people do it. They're too good to eat the feathers. Poor girls like us, we eat the feathers and everything.
You eat the feathers?
What, you mean you're not supposed to?
I think they're just for picking your teeth with. Assuming you have anything to pick out in the first place.
If they have a spread like that today, can you imagine what they must do for a Christmas feast?
Our idea of a Christmas feast is... Well, actually, I don't think we've ever had a Christmas feast.
We've come to the right place, Lily. We've come to the right place for sure.
But did we have to come like this?
Consider it a blow we're striking against the patriarchy.
I consider it risky and uncomfortable. And I'm pretty sure this moustache isn't going to convince anybody.
It's the fashion nowadays. And we are two of the most fashionable young men in London. Thank you very much.
Nobody's going to believe us.
Nonsense. At Christmas, everyone wants to believe the best in other people. So first, we must believe in ourselves. Don't you believe in yourself, Lily?
I believe
Lily's
this fake.
trying to keep her fake mustache on, but is having trouble.
I believe this fake moustache is going to come off.
After all the work we went through to catch that alley cat and give it a shave.
We're lucky that alley cat didn't claw our eyeballs out.
And that alley cat is lucky it didn't wind up as a meat pie at Mr. Tabby's, so I think we're all even.
Pretty sure the alley cat didn't think things were very even.
Cats always have been ungrateful beasts. Remember that calico we tried to harness up that one time and use as a hunting cat? It sure wasn't appreciative of the opportunity it was being given.
I suspect we should be appreciative of what it didn't catch for us.
You may be right, though. This cat seems to have led quite an adventurous life.
Why do you say that?
I can smell it.
Ew.
Rose pulls off her mustache.
Remind me next time we don't catch a cat living behind a fishmonger.
Perhaps next time I'll remind you not to catch a cat at all.
The glue's rather tasty, though. Probably one of those losers from last year's derby.
Lily pulls off her mustache, but the sideburns remain.
Oh, wow.
Funny, that's what the cat said, too. Only much higher pitched and for a much longer period of time.
I know. I was the one who had to hold him down.
Well, I guess we won't be quite as fashionable as we'd hoped to be, but we still have the wardrobe, at least.
Mine's still damp from when it was hanging out on the clothesline.
Those people won't miss it. Not until they go to bring in the laundry, anyway.
You realize if we get caught, we're probably going to jail, right?
And do you realize if we pull this off, we get to have a Christmas feast?
You're right. That's worth going to jail over. What do we do next?
Try to blend in.
How?
Oh, you know what they say. When in Rome, do as the Romans do.
If we were in Rome, we'd both be wearing bed sheets for togas.
Quick! Hide behind that plant.
I'm not sure if that's the kind of blending in I had in mind.
Somebody's coming.
Wasn't that always the plan, though, that somebody would be coming? You said we'd sneak in here. We'd pass ourselves off as gentlemen, and then they'd give us whiskey and brandy and cigars. And I said, what about food? We can't eat cigars. And you said we did that one time when we nicked them off that fellow in Leicester Square. And I reminded you both that we wound up as green as a grocer. And you said, no, that wasn't from the cigar. That was from the moldy cheese the night before. And I said, oh, wait, somebody's coming. Oh, this is never going to work.
Rose and Lily hide behind plants.
This is called getting the lay of the land.
I wasn't expecting the land to be so close by. Do you think this is edible? It's rather like salad, don't you think?
Are you asking me? I was the one who thought the cigar would qualify as a vegetable.
Toby and Percy enter.
That was a close call.
Oh, on the contrary, dear Percy, that was exactly what we needed.
The old man wouldn't stop talking.
True, but now we know his whole life story. That's got to be worth something in a place like this.
He does seem to place a lot of confidence in us now.
And that's why they call us confidence men. We are men that people can have confidence in. At this rate, I suspect we'll soon wind up in Parliament.
For the time being, I'm more concerned about winding up in the hangman's noose. Hard to talk your way out of that, especially after they've got a bag over your head.
Oh, have no fear, my friend. They wouldn't hang a pair of war heroes, especially now that we have an actual colonel to vouch for us.
That was a good yarn you spun out there. The ambush, the elephants, the Punjab. The old Koja ate that up just like those cannibals of yours would have done.
The key to any good sales pitch is telling the customer what he wants to hear.
Oh, so the old man is a customer now, is he? Going all mercantile and bourgeois on us, are you?
Well, it sounds better than to say target or victim, wouldn't you agree? More high class, and we are nothing if not high class.
We are definitely that. Although, next, you might want to make a few minor changes.
Changes?
Improvements, actually.
What are you now, a theatre critic?
Seems a good career move. Indoor work, cushy chair, sit back and be entertained, and then get paid to criticize. What's not to like?
Lily sneezes.
What's that?
Toby goes to investigate the sound. Percy ignores the sneeze and keeps talking.
Quite likely an ambush. Now, here's what I was thinking. Instead of cannibals with poisoned spears, that doesn't make much sense, because not even cannibals would want to poison their meat. So I was thinking, instead of cannibals, maybe headhunters, because they probably would use poisoned spears.
Lily sneezes again. Toby pulls back the net to reveal her.
Oh!
Sorry, I think I'm allergic to the sideburns.
Toby looks behind the other plant to reveal Rose.
Who are you two?
Merely two gentlemen, I can assure you.
Rose looks over at Toby and Percy quite skeptically.
Two gentlemen from Verona. What? Was that the wrong thing to say?
I like this one. She has class.
Sometimes we collect old playbills. Lots of fibre. Maybe I shouldn't have said that either.
But what are you doing hiding back there?
They heard everything. You did hear everything, didn't you?
No. We didn't hear anything.
They heard everything!
I definitely didn't hear anything about how you had conned some old man by making up stories about serving in India or some such. And I definitely shouldn't have said that, should I?
Wouldn't you agree? The part about the cannibals is a bit much, not particularly realistic. A good con job has to sound realistic.
A con job? I don't think you appreciate the gravity of the situation here.
Technically, no one appreciated the gravity until Sir Isaac Newton came along.
He's the fellow with the apple, right? I'd have probably just eaten the apple and not wondered about where it came from.
You're missing my point. These two blokes are onto us. We're ruined. Ruined, I tell you.
So in other words, back to where we started. Oh well, easy come, easy go. We had a good run while it lasted.
Wait, are you?
Likely to starve on the streets? Probably.
Look, perhaps we can come to some understanding here.
I know you.
Why, hear that, Toad? Apparently, your fame from battling cannibals with poisoned spears precedes you.
I know both of you.
Why, yes, I did ride an elephant into battle, but I try not to talk about it too much. What happens in the Punjab stays in the Punjab.
You're from the orphanage.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You're the ones who told the new lads that the gruel was really rat bone stew so they wouldn't eat it and you could have seconds.
Such gullible lads. Everyone knows that authentic rat bone stew tastes much better than that gruel.
And you're the one who volunteered for extra kitchen duty and nobody could figure out why until the porridge started tasting like sawdust and we discovered it really was sawdust.
Some would say that was an improvement.
Wait, so what was he doing with the real porridge?
Oh, there was never any real porridge. We just signed up for kitchen work because it was the only way to stay warm in the winter.
So what were we eating all that time?
You don't want to know, but trust me, at least the sawdust was something natural.
I wonder what real porridge tastes like then.
Forget the porridge. Do you know who these two rascals are?
Rose?
Lily?
Toby.
Percy?
What are you two doing here?
We could ask you
And
the same
Rose
thing.
Lily
The same thing.
all speak at the same time.
We could ask you the same thing.
Wow! Can't you see? We're gentlemen now.
Well, so are we.
No, you are dressed up as a gentleman.
Isn't that what being a gentleman is all about?
Not even very well, I might add.
I mean, when we showed up at the door dressed as ladies, they threw us out. We came back as men, and here we are. So I'm thinking the only thing between you getting in and us getting thrown out here is the dress code.
I'm pretty sure it's more than that.
Also, we snuck in dressed like this, so I'm pretty sure that doesn't count.
So why are you two dressed up as gentlemen anyway?
We should be asking you the same question.
In fact, I dare say we should ask it. It does a reasonable line of inquiry under the circumstances.
I will have you know that we are gentlemen, young landed gentry from the North Country,
Here to introduce ourselves to London society.
and make sure we have a nice, warm place to spend Christmas.
And a feast. We've never actually had a Christmas feast. Have you?
Never actually. I wonder what it's like.
Goose, duck, pheasant, ruffed grouse, a whole flock of roasted birds there for the taking.
And by taking, Toby means he intends to stab it with a fork and hightail it for the exits.
That's only if we're found out. Otherwise, I mean to stay for brandy and cigars.
Cigars are not a vegetable, just so you know.
But we're not going to be found out. We now have Colonel Brampton himself to vouch for us.
He might even give us a letter of introduction. We could go to every club in London, make the rounds, hit 'em all. We'd be the toast of the town, perhaps even with a rasher of bacon on the side.
But first, we have to establish ourselves at this establishment. So if you'll just be running along, we can go on about our business.
Run along? Why would we do a thing like that?
Because you're horning in on our territory, that's why. Now, go, scoot, scram, skedaddle.
I'm not sure what a skedaddle is, but I know it's hard to run in boots like these.
I believe what he's saying is that we have a monopoly on this particular location. Now, if you'll kindly vacate the premises so that we might carry on with our affairs.
And who exactly gave you this monopoly?
Is the government assigning those now? You probably have to be well connected to even apply for a license.
The government's not giving out licenses for fraud.
Well, what is Parliament doing all day then?
We have as much right to be here as you do.
Which is precisely none, but we'll overlook that for the moment.
But we were here first.
What's that got to do with it? It's a free country. We can defraud who we like.
Perhaps we can combine forces.
Why would we want to combine forces with a bunch of girls?
Because we're smarter and more creative.
No, definitely not that.
Oh, I think definitely that.
Yeah, it's a lot harder for us to dress up as gentlemen than you, so I think we definitely win on the creativity scale.
The fake facial hair says otherwise.
It's not fake. It was very real on that cat.
You know, if we all work together, we'd have more people to grab more food when they finally catch on to us.
And more people to eat it. Although, maybe that's not a selling point.
They won't catch on to us unless these amateurs get involved and give the game away.
Amateurs? Amateurs! I'll have you know we make good money at this.
Well, not that good, or we wouldn't still be living out on the streets.
Colonel Brampton enters.
Tut, tut, what do we have here?
Good evening, sir. May I have the honor to introduce myself?
I don't know who you are.
That's why she was about to tell you.
Don't tell me we've admitted more new members without my knowledge or consent. Who are you?
Well, as I was saying, I am...
You tell him. What was my name again?
Sir, these so-called gentlemen are flagrant impostors.
Actually, they're old war buddies of ours.
That's right, war buddies. We were there in the Crimea together.
The Punjab!
And the Punjab, all those exotic places.
Remember the charge of the Light Brigade? We were in the Heavy Brigade, more in the back, way in the back.
These two are not gentlemen, and I can prove it.
Well,
I don't think there's any need for that.
What my friend here means to say is that these two gentlemen may not be gentlemen in a traditional sense of the word, but they are every bit a gentleman in every other sense of the word. You might want to help me out here, Toby.
Oh, I'll help you out. These are just orphans off the street dressing up as gentlemen so they can sneak into venerable club and eat some of our Christmas feast. It's thievery, pure and simple.
oh yeah, well, so are they. This isn't Lord whatever he said his name was. This is really Toby, and this is Percy, and we were all at the same orphanage in the East End, and if it hadn't been for me and Lily here, they'd have been the most incorrigible orphans in all of England.
They were so bad, the workhouses kicked them out and said they'd rather pay actual wages to the most hardened inmates from Newgate Prison than ever deal with those two devils again. No, wait, that's what they said about us. Never mind.
I should have suspected as much. Cannibals in the Punjab. A likely story. Can't believe you'd try to snooker an old man like that. Can't believe an old man let himself get snookered. And by the likes of you. You're a disgrace.
You can't believe them. They'll tell you anything you want to hear.
And apparently they're not alone.
No, I swear it. Lies. All lies.
Fed by your competitors.
You know, that whole collaboration thing looks a whole lot more appealing right now, don't you think?
Well, none of it matters anyway.
Oh, so we're all forgiven then. Let bygones be bygones.
I mean, there is no Christmas feast.
No Christmas feast? How can there not be a Christmas feast?
Yeah, I'm feeling cheated. Aren't you feeling cheated, Lily?
Very cheated. Can I take these fake sideburns off now?
The club is always closed for Christmas. Supposedly, some people have families to go to. Rump.
We don't.
None of us. No, none of us.
That's sort of the very definition of being an orphan.
I'll let the doorman deal with the lot of you. I'm going home.
Colonel exits.
No Christmas feast.
The whole reason we snuck in here was to find ourselves a Christmas feast.
Like saying there's no Christmas.
Guess it's back out on the streets to beg for alms and chase pigeons again.
Oh, you like pigeons, do you? I prefer a nice roasted sterling myself.
I don't even know what an alm is. I hope it's edible.
Some find them rather bland. I do confess pigeons are a tad more flavorful, but I've always been somewhat skeptical of what those flavors might be, if you catch my drift.
Although, that's never really stopped us before.
You know this is all your fault, don't you? Things were going perfectly fine until you two showed up.
Lights out, and we hear a voice from off stage. Get out and stay out! End of Act 1. Act 2. Scene 1. Out on the streets of London, we hear a voice from off stage. Get out and stay out! Lights up. Rose, Lily, Toby, and Percy are hanging out on a street, dejected after being thrown out of the club.
Well, that didn't exactly work out like we planned it.
To be fair, our plan was a little light on the details.
Things were going so well, too. At least we ran into people. Ever notice how it's always people that cause all the problems? Other people.
Oh,
You know this is...
Toby.
You know this is your whole fault, right?
My fault? How?
And hers.
Good to know I have more than just sidekick status.
We totally had that old man in our corner until you two came along and ruined everything.
In actuality, you were the one who revealed their true identities. Perhaps if you'd chosen to play along with their little ruse, things might have worked out differently.
Now, their little ruse, as you call it, was never going to work.
Perhaps, perhaps not. But it didn't fail until you made it fail.
Whose side are you on here?
Presently, the outside, which is exactly the opposite of what we all had planned, if I understand their scheme correctly.
So, who's up for a nice Christmas dinner of roasted pigeon?
Toby, Percy, and Lily glare at her.
Right. Starling then? English sparrow for more refined taste. Oh, what's the matter? We can't let one little setback knock us back on our heels. We need to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and move on to the next great adventure.
We could always try another club. Now that we have our story down, it should go a lot easier next time around, eh?
Never got a chance to tell our story, which is probably just as well.
Doesn't matter. They're probably all closed on Christmas Day, too. So members can spend the day with their family.
Who knew that family would be so important to people? All right, we're orphans. We wouldn't know about such things.
Colonel Brampton seemed rather disappointed. I wonder if he even has a family to go to.
Wow. Do you think he's an orphan too?
He's not an orphan. He's just a lonely old man who likes to sit by the fire and tell stories.
And hear him. You really had him going there for a while.
I did, didn't I? Really melted the old man's heart.
Tugged on his heartstrings, you did.
Had him eating out of my hand.
Eating? Oh, I'm so hungry.
He believed every word of that story.
I believe it's called rapt attention, because you had him wrapped around your little finger for all 10 of them, actually.
Even though not a single word of it was true.
Well, it's true that there were elephants. All the rest is quite questionable.
Imagine being able to hold such power over someone through just the power of words in the air.
A real master of the trade you are.
If only there was a way to put that skill to practical use.
I rather thought we were. How shall I say this politely? Trying to find some supper.
Higher, Percy, higher. We need to think higher.
When you're an orphan on the street, pretty much anything is higher.
What can I do where I can make up stories out of thin air and have people believe them and shower me with riches as a reward?
Well, I was going to say that theatre until you got the part about being showered with riches.
I've got it. I'll go into politics.
Don't be ridiculous, Toby. No one's going to vote for some fast-talking flim-flam artist just because his innate personality is charming and the fact that he's telling people exactly what they want to hear. Oh. You are so going into politics. So, what are we? Wings or Tories? Are we going to be the party of the graft and corruption, or the party of waste and fraud and abuse? Because both seem to have a lot going for them, actually.
Sorry to interrupt your little political convention here, but I think we have more pressing matters than your campaign manifesto.
Vote for Toby, the lesser of two evils.
I think in our case, it's more like the evils of two lessers.
Oh, that would work too.
That would play up your humble origins. Voters may like that kind of thing. Attract a sympathy vote.
Toby and Percy, two lessers.
And two evils. Now listen, it's almost Christmas. We have nothing to eat and no place to stay. What are we going to do about that, Mr. Parliamentarian?
Oh, that? I'll blame the government. Or better yet, the opposition.
A time-honored tradition. Evade responsibility. Blame someone else. I believe that's what they call leadership.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, I am too. It was all just a dream anyway.
A midwinter's daydream.
So we need a new plan.
We could go back to begging on street corners.
We've tried that. There's no money in begging.
Indeed. 4 or 5 experts agree it's better to stand there rattling a cup. I think it's the rattling sound that's the key.
Stealing. Now there's money in stealing.
The problem with rattling the tin cup is you've got to have a tin cup to begin with.
Of course, there's also a hangman's noose.
And something that can rattle.
Face it, we don't have a ghost of a chance of escaping this grinding poverty that we were unlucky enough to be born into.
A ghost.
Somehow that Dickens fellow manages to make poverty seem so noble, so uplifting.
Dickens!
Glamorous even.
I'm pretty sure that's why they call it fiction.
Ironic, isn't it? Writing about poverty has made him rich and famous, but living in it seems to pay no dividends.
That's it!
I must admit, Percy has summed up the state of contemporary society very well.
No, not that. Well, he's right about that, but that's besides the point.
I rather thought my critique of the mid-19th century capitalism was very much on point.
I've got it. I've got a plan. The plan to end all plans.
I thought your last plan was the plan to end all plans.
That was a different plan. This is a new plan.
Ah, good planning.
Your last plan ended our plans.
By any chance, does this plan involve finding us a Christmas feast and a warm place to sleep?
Yes, it does.
Then count me in.
At least indirectly.
That sounds like a loophole to me, but I'm still willing to hear you out. Aren't you willing to hear her out, Toby?
I would, except all I can hear is my stomach growling.
I thought that was mine.
So what is this mysterious plan of yours?
Lady Crumblebum.
Why, yes, that sounds very much like a plan. Not a particularly detailed one.
I don't get it.
Of course you don't. She hasn't laid it out yet. She's just given us a category heading. Lady Cumberbund. It's supposed to intrigue us, entice us.
Well, it hasn't done any of those things for me because I have no idea who Lady Crumblebum is.
Lady Crumblebum is the rich old lady who lives at the end of the street.
Isn't she the mean one?
She might have a bit of a personality, yes.
As I recall, Colonel Brampton had some very strong feelings about her.
Colonel Brampton had strong feelings about lots of things.
Right bit of an old taskmaker he was. Quick with the whip in his day, I imagine. You know what they say? Rum in the lash. Or is that just in the Navy?
If I remember correctly, he said she was a horrid creature who sent shivers down his spine.
Well, that's rather harsh. Wouldn't you say that's rather harsh, Toby?
What he actually said was that he would, quote, rather face a choice between getting trapped in quicksand, falling into a nest of vipers, or being cornered by a hungry tiger raised on man-flesh than ever endure even a look from that horrid creature.
Okay, perhaps the aberrative version wasn't quite so harsh after all.
Wait, how do you know Colonel Brampton?
Oh, let's just say our paths have crossed before.
Oh? Did you serve in the Punjab as well?
Enough about the Punjab. What's with the rich old lady? How much money does she have?
More than we do.
Well, everybody has more than we do.
So here's the plan. Is everybody ready?
I doubt Lady Crumblebum is ready.
Let's hope not. So here's what we do. Come on. Gather round. We don't want anybody to hear.
We're out on the street. Who's going to hear anyway?
Do you want to miss out on the chance to strike it rich, however imperable the odds are, or at least find a decent meal?
Well, if you put it that way.
Toby, Percy, Lily, and Rose huddle while Rose explains the plan. All we hear are mumbles.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
It's a tad unorthodox.
Crazier than the time we tried to swipe the collection plates by St. Paul's by dressing up as angels?
In hindsight, maybe blowing a trumpet to announce our presence wasn't the most subtle approach.
There's no way I'm doing that. It's ridiculous, it's demeaning, and it definitely won't work.
For what it's worth, neither has anything else we've tried.
So are you in?
Yeah, I'm in. So who's the first one down the chimney?
Everyone looks at him.
I shouldn't have asked, should I?
Lights out. Rose, Lily, Toby, and Percy exit. Scene 2. Inside the home of Lady Crumblebum.
Get out and stay out! Blessed mice, always scritching and scratching, trying to come in here and steal my cheese. That's my cheese, you little rascals. My cheese. You hear me? My cheese. Or maybe I shouldn't have told them I have some cheese. Oh, well, they probably know anyway. Infernal mice know everything. They hide in the walls and hear everything. Little spies they are. I wish I had a cat. Haven't seen any of my cats since that meat pie shop opened up down the street. Don't understand why. They were getting plenty fat on mice here. Ungrateful beasts.
There's a rattling noise in the chimney.
Oh, there's another one. Go on, mouse. Go on. Oh, that's a big one. Might even be a rat. Better get the fire tongs for this one. I'll pick you right up and toss you in the fire. Turn all that scritching and scratching into sizzling and snapping. Or maybe I'll go for the poker. Spear it with the pointy end and then roast it. Or smash its little brains out. That'll teach them a lesson. Or at least that one. We'll find out how well all the others learn. Maybe I should put its head on a spike like they did in the old days. Good old days.
Down the chimney comes Toby, dressed in chains.
Ow!
What in the devil?
Shouting back up the chimney,
Hey, that's a lot further down than you said it would be.
Toby dusts himself off and then notices Lady Crumblebum.
Oh, hello. You must be Lady Crumblebum.
I didn't hire a chimney sweep.
Oh, I'm not a chimney sweep. Nasty work. Don't much care for work, actually. Never really saw the point of it, other than that whole earning money for food and shelter thing. Seems a bit of a racket, if you ask me.
A mumble from off stage.
Oh, right, that. I'm the ghost of Jacob Marley. Ooh.
I don't know any Jacob Marley.
Oh, that's because I'm dead. See, I'm a dead man. Ooh.
Bosh. All men are dead to me.
I'm a ghost. Ooh, scary. Don't you think I'm scary?
Well, I don't care. If you're Santa Claus, you're not here to clean the chimney, then get out.
You will be visited by 3 spirits.
I don't need any visitors. Visitors just take up my time. They just sit and talk and drink my tea. I don't like people who talk. Come to think of it, I don't like people, period.
You have one chance to avoid my dreaded fate.
They drink my tea and eat my cheese, and worst of all, they take up my time. They're worse than all the mice in the woodwork put together.
Heed their warning.
You heed mine. Now, shoot, go on.
I'm a ghost. I'm here to scare you. Am I scaring you? Woo, woo, woo!
Nothing scares me. Nowadays, I'm the one doing all the scaring. People go to the other side of the street to avoid me. The children run from me when they see me coming. I like it better that way. The scary old lady at the end of the street. Boo!
I don't think it's working.
I don't know why you're wearing all that crazy getup anyway. Is that the fashion nowadays?
No, these are locks and chains, see? And these are supposed to be money boxes.
Well, let me tell you something, young man. You can fill all those money boxes up to the brim, and they still won't bring you happiness in your old age.
It's from Dickens. You know Charles Dickens, right? Christmas Carol?
I'll give you the Dickens if you don't get out. Now go, or I'll use the fire-based poker. Don't make me use the poker.
I'm going.
Toby shouts up the chimney.
Anytime now.
You know why it's called poker? Because it pokes.
I'm going as fast as I can. Is this the way out?
Toby opens a door and exits. Into a closet. He shuts the door.
1, 2, 3.
Toby opens the door.
Oh, sorry, that's a closet.
I said get out and stay out.
Toby exits through a door, later revealed to be another closet. As Lady Crumblebum looks in the direction Toby went, Rose enters through the chimney, dressed as the ghost of Christmas past.
Government ought to do something about these hucksters. Bad enough when they're going door to door. Now they're dropping in from the chimney. There ought to be a law. There ought to be a lot of laws.
Lady Crumblebum turns and sees Rose.
Boo.
Now, who are you and what do you want?
I'm the ghost of Christmas past.
I don't care about Christmas.
Oh, everyone should care about Christmas, especially if you don't have one.
Besides, you look like an orphan.
I do? I do. I am. I'm a ghost.
You've got soot all over you.
Oh,
What kind of ghosts get soot all over them?
hey, give me a break. It's a hard afterlife.
Can't be any harder than the present.
I'm here to show you all the mistakes in your life and how they could have been avoided.
No need, I'm reminded of them every day.
All the times you were cruel to beggars on the street, all the time you were heartless to orphans, you know, the ones with soot all over them.
He wasn't an orphan. I suppose he did beg.
You've probably never given any thought to any of them.
Oh, I think about him every single day.
All those poor unfortunates you've passed by, the ones with no place to stay, no food to eat, no hope in their miserable little lives. Wait, you do think about it?
Winter is the worst, the long nights, nothing but the cold to keep me company.
Are we talking about the same thing?
Every smile I see on the street, a reminder of what could have been.
Oh, because I totally know some orphans you could invite over for a Christmas dinner.
Therefore, I resolve never to smile at anyone, to make sure they never smiled back at me.
Oh, I'm not sure that's where I was trying to take this.
So go. I don't need you to remind me of all the things I have already remind myself about.
See, I was thinking more you could make amends. I could even help you find some orphans, some very deserving orphans, actually.
It's too late for that, far too late.
No, it's not. It's not Christmas yet, but really, even Boxing Day would do. The orphans will still be orphans then.
Just leave me alone with all of my regrets. They're the only thing I have to keep me company.
Oh, but the orphans could keep you company.
My regrets, my cold, empty life of regrets.
You could even become their benefactor.
Really just one regret, I suppose. All the others flow from that one.
You know, take them in, give them a place to stay.
Weighing me down as the years drag on and on.
Maybe write them into your will.
Crushing whatever happiness I might have enjoyed.
The orphans, that is, not your regrets.
Gnawing at my soul.
Gnawing like on a chicken leg, because that makes me hungry.
I said go. I'll be a ghost like you soon, and when I am, I will not give you a minute's rest.
I don't know that ghosts really need rest.
I'll haunt you in ways you can't even imagine.
Oh, I don't know. I have a pretty vivid imagination. In fact, some people sometimes say it's too vivid.
Lady Crumblebum grabs a candlestick.
Until then, I'll burn you out. Let's see what ghosts think of fire.
Rose starts running.
Going. Where should I go?
Rose opens a door.
Well, no, wait, that's a closet.
Rose opens another door.
That's another closet.
Rose opens yet a third door. Toby is standing inside.
I
Shut the door shut.
How many closets do you have in this place anyway?
I said go!
Going.
Rose runs by the fireplace and shouts up.
I think this went really well.
Rose exits in what will later be revealed as yet another closet.
Ghosts? 2 of them. The end must be near. Something to be wished for, I suppose. Maybe I shouldn't have been so hard on that one. Oh, bosh, such a bother. Everything's a bother. I wonder if I really could have set that one on fire. Probably just made a mess. Wonder if I'd have to sweep it up or mop it up. Probably ruin the carpet either way. Not that it matters anymore. Nothing matters anymore.
Lily appears down the chimney, and Lady Crumblebum notices her.
Hello.
Not another one.
I'm the ghost of Christmas.
Percy mumbles from off stage, up the chimney.
Oh, I mean, I'm the ghost of Christmas right now.
Another mumble from up the chimney.
What's that?
Another mumble from up the chimney.
Right, present. I'm the ghost of Christmas present.
I don't need any presents. Nobody ever brings me presents anyway.
Not that kind of present. I'm like the ghost of Christmas today. Well, not today. A few days from now. But you know what I mean.
No, actually, I don't.
Lily whispers up the chimney.
Can somebody help me out here? I'm not good at this.
If you're here to scare me, don't bother. The others have already tried that.
Oh, well, sorry to bother you then.
A mumble from off stage.
But she says she's not. But she says she's not interested.
A mumble from off stage.
But she just said.
A mumble from off stage.
Okay, I'll try. But she said she's already said it's not going to work.
To Lady Crumblebum.
So I'm here to tell you about how orphans are going hungry at Christmas.
I don't care about Christmas.
But maybe you could care about the orphans.
Christmas is a time for families.
So you're saying orphans can't celebrate Christmas because they don't have families? That seems unfair.
I don't have a family.
You could have us. We could be your family.
Could have had a family.
What do you mean could have?
No use now. He's gone.
Who's gone? What are you talking about?
I sent him away.
You sent who away? I don't understand.
I don't really understand either. I was young and foolish, I suppose.
Wait, shouldn't you have been saying all this to the ghost of Christmas past? Because I'm the ghost of Christmas today.
A mumble from off stage.
The ghost of Christmas present.
When you're young, you don't think about what it's like to grow old.
Or maybe a therapist.
Old and alone.
I don't know if they have therapists in 19th century London, but if they don't, it would be a good idea to have some.
Oh, I'm just a bitter old woman.
Well, yes, I suppose that much is true.
Grimly living out her final days, festering in the mistakes of her own making.
Oh, that's so sad.
To the others off stage.
Isn't that sad?
A mumble from off stage.
Well, I think it's sad.
So, no, I don't care about Christmas. I don't care about anything.
So you don't want to invite some orphans over for a Christmas feast?
That's my punishment, I suppose.
We wouldn't be much fuss.
To not care about anything.
And we could even help clean up afterwards.
A mumble from off stage.
What? It would be the polite thing to do.
A mumble from off stage.
Well, some of them will help clean up afterwards. Probably just the girls.
She speaks in a louder voice directed to Toby and Percy off stage.
Because apparently guys are incapable of breaking out of society's stereotypical gender roles, or maybe they're just lazy and irresponsible.
Go do your ghosting thing on somebody else. I'll just sit here and wallow in self-pity and recriminations.
Are you all right? Because you don't seem all right.
A mumble from off stage.
No, can't you see that she's hurting?
A mumble from off stage.
I can't just leave her like this. It's not right.
A mumble from off stage.
Fine.
To Lady Crumblebum.
Boo.
And to the off-stage voice.
There. Better?
Is that all you've got?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Pretty poor excuse for a ghost, then.
Sorry, I've never been a ghost before.
Well, you're not a very good one. None of them are from what I've seen. I thought ghosts were supposed to be scary.
I'm doing my best.
I mean, why should I be scared of some phantasm? You're not real. Do you know what's real? A lifetime of loneliness is real. That's what you should be afraid of. Too late for you now. You're a ghost. And too late for me, too. What is done and can't be undone.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, what is it you regret so much?
You wouldn't understand.
I might.
Nobody really understands.
You could try me.
And you try me. Doesn't matter whether people are alive or dead. They're all try me. Just go. You'll have an eternity to haunt me. For now, just let me rest in peace, whatever peace there is.
Oh, well, sorry to bother you.
Mumble from off stage.
I'll just see myself out.
As she passes the fireplace, she shouts up the chimney.
I don't think this is going to work.
Lily pauses at the door. Toby is behind. Then decides to open the next door and exits into what we later learn is another closet.
No, nothing's going to work. It never has. I just sit and look at the clock and wish I could turn back time. Don't know why I even have a clock. I used to think it would make me happy because each tick-tock put me further away from that awful day. But all it does is remind me of how long it's been.
Percy enters through the chimney and presents himself with a flourish.
Ta-da!
Lady Crumblebum ignores him.
I said ta-da.
Still no response from Lady Crumblebum. Percy begins dancing around quite dramatically.
Ta-da! Boo! Boo, 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 boo.
I heard you the first time.
Oh.
I'm not deaf, you know.
Ah, good to know. So I don't need to shout then. All right, I'll confess. It's much more fun to say boo than it is to say boo.
He says the final boo in a very small voice.
What do you think you're trying to do? Scare me?
Well, yes, that was kind of the point. More of a means than an ends, actually.
But there's no ends worse than the one I have inflicted upon myself.
I'm the ghost of Christmas future.
And I quite frankly don't care.
I'm here to show you the wonders of what could be.
Pause.
What do you mean you don't care?
I threw away my future long ago.
No, it's right there. I'm going to show you. That's what I do. That's why I'm the ghost of Christmas Future.
You're going to show me what?
How wonderful your future could be if only you did a few simple things.
Huh. Nothing's ever simple.
Pause.
What things?
Like, let's say, invite some orphans over for Christmas dinner. I just happen to know where you might find a few.
Not sure what good that would do.
You could put some Christmas cheer into their dreary lives.
If they want cheer, they'd best stay away from me then. I'll never put cheer in anyone's life.
I'm pretty sure orphans would find a hot meal and a warm place to stay pretty cheerful.
Only heartbreak.
I beg your pardon?
I broke his heart, and then I broke my own.
I'm sorry. Who are you talking about? Because I'm talking about some orphans.
Nobody you'd know, unless he's already dead. He's probably dead by now, because after I sent him away, he joined the army and went off to India or some such. Never heard from him again. Probably died in some far-off corner of the empire, fighting tigers or whoever it is we're fighting these days. I don't pay much attention anymore. I used to pay attention, silly me. I thought I might see some mention of his name in the dispatches and the Times. Never did. What a waste of a subscription.
I don't think we're talking about the same thing here.
He's probably dead. And I killed him. Not directly, but I may as well have.
Killed who?
Percy looks around and suddenly picks up an object with which to defend himself.
Because you're looking at me like a killer.
Why are you holding my fireplace poker?
Because I don't want you to make a ghost out of me. Wait, I'm already a ghost. I have no idea why I'm holding this lovely fireplace poker. I was just admiring it. I'll put it down now. Right now. See? I'm putting it down. You're not really a killer, are you?
Percy stage whispers to the others up the chimney because he doesn't realise they're in the closet.
I think the old crone has finally snapped. If she murders me, my blood is on your hands. Probably hers too, but all of yours, metaphorically speaking.
I don't suppose you could show me, could you?
Show you who? What? I have no idea what we're talking about right now. You're not going to kill me, are you?
I shouldn't even think about it, but I do.
Thinking she's talking about killing him.
I'm definitely thinking about it right now, and I don't really like that thought at all.
So could you show me what happened to him? Just a little peek. I don't know what to wish for, that he's long gone in a soldier's grave on some foreign shore, or somewhere here in England, sitting beside the fire, his loving wife by his side, his grandchildren playing at his feet.
That's not really the kind of thing I do. I'm not some gypsy fortune teller with a crystal ball. I'm more of an imagine the possibilities kind of ghost, huh?
You better show me, you miserable excuse for a manifestation, you pale shadow of an apparition, you sorry example of a spirit. When I'm gone, I'll haunt you so bad you'll wish you were still alive. I just want to know. I just really want to know. Could you do that for a broken-hearted old woman?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure it's really allowed. Why are you broken-hearted? Was it something I said? Something I didn't say?
I made a mistake.
Well, we all make mistakes.
My mistake has led me right here to this very point.
Mine usually lead me to trouble, but I suppose everyone's route could be different.
Lady Crumblebum grabs Percy and pulls him to her.
Could you please, please?
Well, I suppose I could try.
You know, for a ghost, you're surprisingly solid.
Oh, well, it's more, an attempt to assume human form. Otherwise, I'd be some will-o'-wisp, some spirit, some ghost.
Lady Crumblebum pats Percy.
Yes, you are quite solid.
Would you like to be a bit more solid? I haven't had a decent meal in quite some time.
Just tighten your belt. Assuming ghosts have belts. Anyway, can you get on with it? If you can see into the future, you ought to be able to see into the present, right?
I'll need to know his name.
A name, right. Agatha Harriet Crumblebum.
Not your name. The person you want to see.
Oh, sorry. Haven't done this sort of thing before. I'm all in a spivet. His name. Right, his name. I'm nervous. I haven't said his name in, 50 years.
Do you remember the name of this person you're trying to find?
Of course I remember it. I'm not daft. I'm just demure.
I see.
I vowed his name would never cross my lips, or maybe that it was his lips would never cross mine. Anyway, if you must have a name.
Hard to find someone if I don't know their name.
His name is Arthur.
Arthur? Arthur what?
It started with a B. I don't dare say more.
Brampton?
Rose, Lily, and Toby each open their closet doors and all speak at once.
Brampton?
Do you know him? Is he one of you now?
Oh, he's definitely not one of us.
Arthur and Agatha. People said we were meant to be together. The whole A thing, I suppose. But when he got down on his knees, I wasn't ready. I was scared, just like I'm scared now. I sent him away. I should never have sent him away. I've regretted that ever since. I don't suppose he's given a second thought to me.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
So you can find him. Can you tell me what became of him?
Oh, I think we can definitely find him, can't we?
Percy nods to the others. Rose, Lily, and Toby nod in agreement.
But it's going to take a little time.
But not too much time.
Just enough time to figure out how we can get ourselves out of this whole mess.
Lady Crumblebum turns to see Rose, Lily, and Toby.
Ghosts.
Lady Crumblebum faints.
Is she all right?
Nothing a shot of brandy won't cure.
She pours herself a shot of brandy and drinks it down.
Shouldn't that be for her?
Oh, she'll come to eventually. But until then, we should celebrate.
Why?
Because we just bought ourselves some time for a new plan.
No, not a new plan.
Maybe we should carry her off to the sofa or something.
That would be the gentlemanly thing to do. But I suppose you two could go ahead and do it anyway.
Toby and Percy pick up Lady Crumblebum.
1, 2, 3. Up you go, old lady.
This seems like a lot like work.
Not as much work as explaining this to the Colonel Brampton is going to be.
Toby and Percy exit with Lady Crumblebum.
Oh, don't you worry about that.
When you say, don't worry about that, you know what I automatically do? I worry.
Oh, here, have some brandy, then you won't worry anymore.
Sounds good.
Lily takes a shot of brandy.
Now, let's get out.
And stay out?
Yeah, can't do that. We'd miss out on all the fun.
Lights out. Scene 3. Outside Lady Crumblebum's house. Before we see anything, we hear a noise. It's Colonel Brampton loudly protesting. His protests are muffled because he has a bag over his head.
Let me go! Let me go this instant! Let me go, I say!
Toby and Percy enter, dragging or carrying Colonel Brampton, who is tied up and has a bag over his head.
Let me go, or I'll have both of you court-martialed.
Sorry, old chap, you're not in the military anymore.
And neither are we. Never were, actually. The whole thing back there at the club was a bit of a fib. A ruse. A stratagem.
I'm pretty sure he knows all that.
Well, it never hurts to reinforce the message.
I need some reinforcements. And when they get here, you two are going to find yourself before a firing squad.
Oh, Clammet, you don't even know what this is about yet.
I know I've been kidnapped. That's all I need to know.
He seems rather upset, don't you think?
Of course I'm upset.
Before long, he'll be thanking us from the bottom of his heart.
His broken, lovesick heart.
What are you talking about?
You'll see, you'll see.
I can't see. That's part of the problem.
Rose and Lily enter.
No, this is your craziest idea yet, don't you?
Of course. That's part of its charm.
You have a strange notion of charm.
So, how's Loverboy here?
Loverboy? Who said that?
Oh, ideally she will. We can only hope.
You know, we could have just asked him nicely.
We did. We said, "Excuse me," and then he turned around and Toby and Percy jumped out and put the bag over his head.
I'm not sure that's asking nicely.
To Colonel Brampton.
Do you consider that asking nicely?
No, I didn't consider that asking nicely.
See, he didn't think it was asking nicely.
He probably just forgot how polite we were about the whole thing. He was distracted.
I wasn't distracted. I was kidnapped.
See, he wasn't distracted.
He may not be distracted, but he is getting a little hard to handle, so do you think we could speed this along?
You know, chop chop, as they say.
Well, dear God, you're going to chop me up, are you? Please, God, not that. Anything but that.
Well, then you'll get your wish, because it's not that.
What is it then? What are your friends going to do with me?
Now, if we told you, that would take all the surprise out of it, now wouldn't it? Come on, let's go.
Up you go, big boy.
You might even say, it's showtime.
Toby and Percy exit with Colonel Brampton. Rose and Lily exit too. Scene 4. Inside Lady Crumblebum's house. Lady Crumblebum enters from the bedroom where she had been taken earlier.
That was strange. Could have sworn I was just in here and, well, it must have all been a dream. That's what it was. A dream, a bad dream, a very bad dream. It must have been the Brussels sprouts. Never did trust the Belgians, sneaky little continentals.
A knock at the door.
Now, who could that be?
Another knock on the door.
I'll just ignore it. Maybe they'll go away. They'll all go away eventually.
Now there's even more urgent knocking on the door.
Oh, for goodness sakes, enough already.
More knocking.
I'm coming. Let me get my poker. That'll show them I mean business.
Lady Crumblebum picks up the fireplace poker. The knocking continues.
Just hold your horses.
Lady Crumblebum, a door and goes in. It's a closet. She comes back out.
You'd think after all this time I'd learn where all the closets are.
More knocking.
Maybe I should just stay in there until...
She looks down at her fireplace poker.
On the other hand, maybe if I give them a good hiding with this, the world would get out and they would leave me alone.
More knocking. Lady Crumblebum readies herself.
1, 2, here goes.
Lady Crumblebum opens the door, ready to swing the poker. Instead, Rose, Lily, Toby, and Percy burst in, bringing Colonel Brampton in with them, still tied up and with a bag over his head. As they burst in, Lady Crumblebum swings wildly with her fireplace poker, missing all of them.
Hello, Lady Crumblebum. Do we have a surprise for you?
Where are you taking me?
Don't look at me. It wasn't my idea.
Watch your step there, old fellow.
And don't call me old.
You'll never guess who this is under this bag.
I'll have you all keel-hauled.
Although we hope you'll guess eventually.
And I wasn't even in the Navy.
This will all be profoundly disappointment if you don't even recognize him anymore.
But I know people. I know people in high places.
And we know something neither of you know. So both of you sit down and prepare to be amazed.
You should be prepared to be brained with this fireplace poker. Wait, you're that ghost.
One and the same.
Actually, more like 4 of the same.
Did I just hear someone threaten violence? Because I'm very much in favor of violence right now.
Why don't you sit right here, ma'am? And we'll sit our surprise right here.
I still say this wasn't my idea.
How dare you tell me to sit down in my own house?
Would you prefer to faint again right there on the floor? Because if so, we'll have to carry you again, and we wouldn't want to have to do that. I think I pulled a muscle in my back the first time.
I don't mean to be impolite, but you're a tad on the... How shall I say this discreetly?
There is no way to discreetly put that.
Right, I suppose not.
Rose takes the fireplace poker from Lady Crumblebum.
I'll take
Hey,
this.
I might need that.
We're ghosts, remember? Non-corporal beings. It won't help.
Lady Crumblebum points to Percy.
That one wasn't very non-corporeal.
I'm non-corporeal. I'm a colonel. I haven't been a corporal in years.
Rose points the poker at Lady Crumblebum.
As I was saying,
Fine. I'll just have a seat over here. My corns were starting to hurt anyway.
Rose uses the fireplace poker as a pointer.
so it seems we have a little mystery to resolve here.
There's no mystery. I was kidnapped.
Shh, we'll be getting to you soon enough.
And why does this ghost have a bag over his head?
Oh, he's not a ghost.
What is he then?
But these ruffians are trying to make a ghost of me.
So it seems that 50 years ago, you
Rose points to Lady Crumblebum with the fireplace poker.
had the affections of a certain young man.
It's not polite to point. But yes, I don't see what that has to do with anything, though I've forgotten him already.
Oh, have you now? We shall see, we shall see.
Oh, is that the signal for me to take the bag off his head?
Not yet, Lily, not yet. And that certain young man just happened to propose to you,
He did?
and you, in your youthful foolishness, that's your cue, by the way.
I sent him away.
Oh, but now you wish you hadn't.
I do. Oh, God, I wanted so bad to say I do. I do. I don't know now why I didn't.
And now you'd give anything to know what happened to this man, even though it's been 50 years.
Anything, anything.
It's getting hard to breathe under here.
Easy, old chap. Won't be much longer.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
She's working up to the denouncement. That's a fancy French word for something I have no idea what exactly. I think it might be some kind of champagne.
All right, then. Here's the deal. If we show you where this man is right now, you'll take in some orphans for Christmas dinner?
Oh, I don't know about that. That's rather a lot to ask.
You said anything.
Well, yes, But I thought you meant something like my mortal soul, something insignificant like that.
Yes or no? What's it gonna be? Orphans over for Christmas dinner, or you'll never know what happened to your lost love?
I don't know. Let me think a bit.
Time's a-wasting.
Rush her.
He's getting rather restless.
Perhaps even a bit blue in the face, you might say. Not that we can see his face very well.
On the other hand, yes, rush her. He's not much good to us if he suffocates.
Rose shoves the fireplace poker into Lady Crumblebum's face.
Do I make my point clear?
Fine, fine. I'll have some orphans over.
Toby, Percy, and Lily all react at once.
Hooray!
Yes!
Yes.
But I'm not going to sit with them. They can eat in the kitchen if they must.
So I can make do in the kitchen, can't you?
The others nod in agreement.
Yeah, we're quite fine with the kitchen.
All right, then, it's settled then, right? Christmas dinner for the orphans?
Wait,
What is it?
there's just one more thing.
What's that?
With Rose, there's always just one more thing.
Could we have some roasted duck? I've always wanted to have some roasted duck.
Oh, with orange glaze?
Roasted duck with orange glaze does sound rather nice.
I thought you were holding out for the fat goose.
Fine, but you have to catch it.
Oh, we can do that.
Wait, that sounds a lot like work.
It's a duck. How much work can it be?
Last time I checked, ducks can fly and we can't.
If it's not work to catch one, then why haven't we caught one and roasted it before now?
Probably just a lack of will.
It's not a lack of will. I've wanted a roasted duck for a long time, just wanted a roasted goose more.
Geese are probably harder to catch. They bite.
Can you two knock it off?
We'll work something out.
I don't like that word, work. Sends shivers up my spine.
Rose points the poker at Toby.
So will this.
Fine, duck it is. Carry on.
Lady Crumblebum, prepare to meet your long-lost love.
Now?
Now!
Lily pulls the bag off Colonel Brampton's head.
Ta-da!
Oh, thank goodness. I thought I was going to die in there.
He sees Lady Crumblebum and screams.
Oh, put the bag back on. Put the bag back on.
See, I told you he'd be surprised.
Is this
This is Arthur.
Arthur? My Arthur.
Your Arthur.
Squinting for a closer look,
Arthur Blakefield?
Who's Arthur Blakefield?
Arthur Blakefield, the man who proposed to me.
No, this is Arthur Bramp. Oh.
Oh.
I'm sensing an unexpected plot twist here.
You don't know Arthur Brampton?
Never heard of an Arthur Brampton before in my life.
Oh, well, this is awkward.
Should I put the bag back on his head?
No, not the bag again. Although,
he looks at Lady Crumblebum.
actually, can I have a minute to think about it? This is kind of a tough one.
You promised me Arthur Blakefield. What happened to Arthur Blakefield?
Oh, Arthur Blakefield. That Arthur. Funny how that is. Isn't that funny? It's not funny.
Nobody ever said anything about an Arthur Blakefield.
Told you this wouldn't work.
I don't think we know any Arthur Blakefield. Do you know an Arthur Blakefield?
I do not know an Arthur Blakefield.
Never heard of an Arthur Blakefield.
Could you maybe just pretend to be Arthur Blakefield? I'm rather counting on that duck roast.
I know Arthur Blakefield.
You do?
The day is saved! The duck maybe not so much.
Or rather did.
Yes. Does that mean
Arthur Blakefield was a fellow soldier in my first posting.
Yes, yes.
Poor bugger was a worthless sot. Had a right mean temper, he did.
No, he didn't.
The ladies saw one side of him. The rest of us saw the other.
Oh.
And let's just say he was quite popular with the ladies, at least until the money ran out. Usually their money.
Oh.
Smooth talker he was, that's for sure. Said he'd proposed to some woman back home, but only because she came from money.
Well, I never. Actually, I do come from money, but that's beside the point.
Not much of a doer, that one was, that's for sure. Except when it came to commanding officers' cash box. There he had a case of the sticky fingers, if you catch my drift.
Oh.
Spent more time in the brink than he did in the barracks. Spent a lot of time in the local taverns, too. Eventually cashiered for cowardice.
Cowardice? In battle?
Oh, heavens, no. Blakefield never came close to any battle.
So how could he be a coward then?
Was challenged to a duel and went AWOL.
A duel? How exciting!
Something about a certain tavern wench and her aggrieved husband. I never heard the full story.
Oh. Well, I've heard enough. Good riddance to him then. All these years I regretted turning him away, and now it seems I made the right decision after all.
Probably so. Wait, does this mean we still get Christmas dinner?
So who's this man?
Yeah, who is this man?
And why did you say all those bad things about Lady Crumblebum?
What bad things?
I believe the exact line was, I'd rather face a choice between getting trapped in quicksand, falling into a nest of vipers, or being cornered by hungry tigers raised on man flesh than endure even a look from that horrid creature.
Oh, that's rather poetic. Would you mind saying that again?
I'd rather face a choice between getting trapped in quicksand.
Not you, him.
Me?
You'd led us to believe you had strong feelings about Lady Crumblebum here.
I do. I can't stand her.
But why? She seems nice.
I'm not nice.
So why don't you like her?
Oh, purely by reputation.
Oh, so you don't not like her. You just don't like her reputation.
Pretty much, yes.
My reputation precedes me. I rather like that.
Wait, what are you doing?
Whatever I can. Whatever I can. Just work with me here.
Oh no, I don't like where this is going.
I don't know what kind of devil's den I've been hauled into, but I'd like to be going now.
But aren't you lonely?
You said you were lonely.
And Lady Crumblebum here is definitely lonely.
I don't know what you're suggesting.
I know what she's suggesting.
See, he knows what I'm suggesting.
The answer's no.
But why?
What are you suggesting exactly?
Just that here are two people, both of whom are otherwise going to have Christmas dinner alone.
That's only because the club is closed, but yes. Otherwise, I will be eating alone.
I always eat alone.
Oh, wait, you said you'd have some orphans over.
You said we had to eat in the kitchen.
Perfectly fine being in the kitchen, closer to the food.
Which I do hope will include some roasted duck.
You're having roasted duck?
No, I was planning on having a tin of biscuits like I usually do.
No, I was planning on having some roasted duck.
Oh, I love roasted duck. Well, at least the idea of roasted duck.
You've never had roasted duck?
We're orphans. We've never had a lot of things.
Oh, but you have not lived until you've had roasted duck.
I suspect the duck might have something else to say about that.
Have you ever had roasted duck?
Never. Dreamed about it once. Or was that a goose? I get them mixed up.
I wouldn't mind having some roasted duck.
When I was in the army, we'd forego our rations and go out and hunt us a brace of ducks. I had quite the eye for bringing down the winged ones, I must say.
Good. Well, it's settled then.
What is?
Christmas dinner then. For all of us.
Pardon me, I think I've missed something.
You Still have your eye for bringing down the winged one?
I dare say I do.
Question is, does he still have his rifle?
It's going to be very difficult to find a duck of any sort if I'm still tied up like this.
So do we have a deal then?
A prisoner is in no position to negotiate.
Rose waves the fireplace poker.
And I'm not negotiating. You find us a duck. Toby and Percy here will roast it.
Me? That sounds like work.
Desperate times, Toby. Desperate times. Sacrifices must be made.
And Lady Crumblebum here will host a Christmas dinner for all of us, even if some of us have to eat in the kitchen.
I suppose I could relent on that part.
Really?
I've always wondered what it would be like to have a whole family gathered together for Christmas. Not that you're my family or anything, but I suppose you'll do.
Oh, isn't that sweet? I think that's sweet.
Much like orange glaze, I hope.
I hate to ruin the festivities, but how do we know that Colonel Brampton here will actually follow through once we earn time?
Well, it's Christmas. I guess we'll just have to take some things on faith.
I also have orange marmalade.
Orange marmalade for your biscuits.
Or orange glaze?
Roast duck with orange glaze? Did someone say roast duck with orange glaze?
Sounds like he'll follow through.
Oh, good. Let's go put our feet up. We've done enough for one day.
I agree. Perhaps a spot of sherry in the den, shall we?
Toby and Percy exit.
So, shall we call it a date then?
Oh, no, I wouldn't call it a date.
Orange glaze, you say?
Well, maybe you can call it a date if you want.
A date?
Well, technically, December 25th is a date.
Lady Crumblebum whispers to Rose and Lily.
Don't want to lead them on too much, you know. Word to the wise.
Not that we've ever had that problem.
So it looks like our work here is done.
Not quite.
What do you mean, not quite?
Somebody's got to do the dishes.
Why us?
It's the 19th century. We still abide by stereotypical gender roles.
Oh.
I'm sure in 100 years things will change, but for now, you do the dishes.
I suppose we could do that.
Good. You better get to work.
I'm confused. Aren't the dishes something that get done after dinner?
You're right. But here's the secret.
What's that?
I haven't done the dishes in 25 years.
Oh.
Sometimes when you're living alone, you just let some things slide. So you girls better get to it. Come on, I'll show you the way.
Lady Crumblebum exits with Rose and Lily. That leaves Colonel Brampton tied up alone on stage.
Hello? Hello? Help! Is anybody ever going to untie me? Help! Help! Something tells me I was better off when I had the bag over my head. Help!
Colonel Brampton looks at the audience.
What are you looking at? Get out! And stay out!
Lights out. The end. The end.
Yay! Yay!